everybody. Welcome to our Bhagavad Gita class in Kirtan with Mahabhagavatas, and I'm Radhi Shamdasi, and we're very happy to have you with us and hope you'll like to join in with the Kirtan. Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Iti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Iti Namine Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gora Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prastayate Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gora Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prastayate Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Bhaskacha Satarine Saraswati Deva Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Bhaskacha Satarine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Shishima, Jagakuru, Surupananda, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa, Parivrajagasadara, Sapta Shishima. His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Kota Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Prem Sikaho, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasari Gaur Bhatta Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Nitai Goswal Mission Ki Jai. Navadvita Dhamma Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhani Ki Jai. Vrindavan Ki Jai. Mathuradam Ki Jai. Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shrimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Oma Gina Timarandasya, Gina Gina Salakaya, Chaksurun Militanyena, Tajmai Shri Guruve Namaha, Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam, Statpitam Yena Bhutale, Swayam Rupa Kadamayam, Darati Swa Padantekam, Vandeham Shri Guru, Shri Yuta Parakamalan, Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha, Shri Rupam Sagrajatam, Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajevam, Sadvitam Savadutam Parijana, Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam, Shri Radha Krishna Padan, Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhana Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaevacha Patitanam Pavenbhyo Vaishnavbhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrindam. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Siddhaswarupananda Paramahansa Niti Namine Namo Siddhaswarupananda Paramahansa Namine Guru Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Prastayate. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, Jagatguru Siddhaswarupananda Paramahansa Srila Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at his lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada is the mercy manifestation of Lord Chaitanya, Gaura Karuna Swarupaya, and very dear to Radha and Krishna, Radha Krishna Prastayate. And offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who, like wish-fulfilling trees, being very compassionate upon the fallen souls. Hare Krishna, Namaste, Hari Bol. So, we're continuing with Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 2, where Krishna speaks on and educates Arjuna about the ABCs of spiritual life. You know, that we're not this body, that we are spiritual in essence, that we are eternal spirit souls. And so in the verses we've been reading, Krishna gives many different words or adjectives, I guess they are, to describe the characteristics of the soul. And he's like really emphasizing it to Arjuna in so many different ways that who can slay anyone, and who is ever slain? You know, so Arjuna's like, you know, this warrior. His whole business is to kill people, and he's going to end up killing a whole lot of people. A whole lot of people are going to die in this huge war or battle of Kurukshetra. And Arjuna's, you know, understandably like very like hesitant to kill a whole lot of people. And so Krishna, in various different ways, describes to Arjuna how it's not possible. You cannot slay anyone. You can't slay anyone. The soul is eternal, immutable, unchangeable. Does not come into being, has not come into being, and will not come into being in the future. You know, only the body dies, not the soul. The soul is asat, eternal, truth. Oh, sorry, it's sat, not asat. The body is asat. The body is temporary and false. But the soul is sat, eternal, unchanging. So we've been, actually we're on to our third class here on text 20, chapter 2, text 20. And so we'll definitely get this one knocked over tonight and into 221. So anyway, 220, Najayate mriyate vakarachin nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuyaha ajo nicha sashvato ayam purano nahanyate hanyamani sarire. So this is the tristope, 11 syllables per pada or quarter line. But for the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. Najayate mriyate vakarachin. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. Nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuyaha. He is unborn, eternal, ever-existing and primeval. Aja Nitya Sashvato Ayam Purano. He is not slain when the body is slain. Nahanyate hanyamani sa ire. So we've been reading the purport of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada on 220. And the last point we spoke on was Bhaktivedanta Swami said, and because the soul has no birth, he therefore has no past, present or future. He is eternal, ever-existing and primeval. That is, there is no trace in history of his coming into being. No trace in history of his coming into being. So when I was a boy at just a couple of years ago, I used to go to this school called Barker College. This was in Hornsby, and that's in one of the northern suburbs of Sydney. And I was a pretty kind of an average student at school, and in primary school, and anyway, I went to this private school. My parents made a big effort and a big sacrifice to send me and my brothers to this very good school. And anyway, when I got in second form, for some reason I got very interested in history, and I just got very kind of passionate about what are known as bushrangers. So Australia is like this, massive country, huge country, and anyway, and it was settled originally by convicts in 1788. They brought the England's waste people. They used to, in England at that time, they'd convict anyone. Like, they had a real law and order kind of mindset, and punishment was how to keep people law-abiding. And so for the most minor crimes, for petty theft, a person would be sentenced to transportation. That's what they called it, transportation to Australia for either 7 or 14 years, or even for life, for the term of his natural life is what they would call it. So anyway, so Australia had this kind of pretty rough start there with all these convicts, and anyway, as they finally figured out, they first went to New South Wales and in Sydney in particular, and then behind Sydney there's these mountains called the Blue Mountains, which are part of what's known as the Great Dividing Range. And so they couldn't figure out for many years how to get across these mountains. They're not particularly big mountains, they're only 4,000 feet or something, but they just couldn't figure it out. And finally, I think in 1813 or sometime like that, they figured out how to get across these mountains, and out behind the mountains where there's this vast open spaces, and it's pretty flat land, and a lot of it's quite, it's not that great, but it's reasonable farming land, particularly for sheep, for growing wool, and also for wheat. And anyway, and then in the maybe perhaps the early, I can't remember the exact year, but anyway, 1860s, something like that, they discovered gold. So, Eureka. There's even a town in Australia called Eureka, and they had this big rebellion in Ballarat, and they called it the Eureka Stockade. So anyway, they discovered gold, Eureka, and suddenly they had this criminal problem. All kinds of people came in from all around the world trying to get rich, and and some of them did. And anyway, they had this these people called bushrangers, and they were basically criminals who would range in the bush. And anyway, there were some famous ones. Ben Hall and Ned Kelly is the most famous. And I'm sorry if I'm boring you Americans and Filipinos who perhaps know nothing about Australia and these bushranger folks. But anyways, so I got very interested in these bushrangers. And all of a sudden, once you get interested in something, all of a sudden your school scores start going up. So I started to win prizes and so on. And anyway, then I got very, very into history, and in fact, studied it, did modern and ancient history in high school. And then when my plan was, I was going to be a history teacher. But ultimately my desire was to become a university lecturer focused in history. And so anyway, here Bhaktivedanta Swami is saying there is no trace in history of his coming into being. So most history that's studied at university is what they call modern history. And this is it starts with the French Revolution in 1789. So it's of course, history is very Western centric. So modern history, everything starts with the French Revolution, some revolution in France. And the reason they really do this is because that was when the old absolute monarchies got overthrown in Europe, and it started the world on its path towards democracy, or certainly parts of the world anyway. But anyway, so like modern history is this study from 1789, and they actually really sort of started in 1815 after the Napoleonic Wars, and Napoleon was finally defeated. And so it's only like, what is that? A little bit over 200 years. Okay, and this is like this period of history that's like all this massive study going on, studying modern history, all these books and college courses and modern history of Europe and America and the World War I and World War II and the Great Depression and then post World War II, the Cold War and so on and so forth. All massive amounts of historical study of it all. And then you go back before 1789 and they it's not quite medieval history, because medieval history sort of ended with the Renaissance or Renaissance, depending on how you say it. And anyway, so then before the Renaissance is medieval history. Okay, that's what they call the Middle Ages. And it's kind of like, well, okay. So then you go back, that lasted a long time. They call it the Dark Ages. It was pretty damn dark, pretty primitive, and pretty brutal. And, lots of serfdom, which was more or less slavery. And anyway, you go back and you get to the collapse of the Roman Empire, and this is like 300 or 400 AD, something like that. And that's what they call ancient history. And you kind of go back, a few thousand years, maybe can kind of trace it out in from a Western centric point of view to maybe 1000 BC, something like this, before Christ. So this is it. This is the period of history that is basically studied in the Western world. And you can maybe 3,000 years. Okay, so this is history, the study of history. But here, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is saying, there is no trace in history of his coming into being, the soul. There's no trace in history. So this kind of Western-centric, materialistic study of history, it of course is all kind of based on this, like, supposition that, humans evolved from, first of all there was like an amoeba, and then this single cell amoeba that sort of formed itself in the primordial soup somehow, and suddenly sprung into life and began to exhibit the symptoms of, which we discussed last time, of takes birth, remains for some time, it grows, it produces some effects, in other words, reproduces, gradually dwindles, and then at last vanishes into oblivion. These 6 stages of life that the Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada refers to here, that are contained within the commentaries of Baladeva Jabusana and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and others, and are based on some logicians' text. But anyway, like this Western theory is like, well, this amoeba suddenly came into being, and then this little amoeba somehow started to grow, and gradually it, over a very long period of time, like super long period of time, it managed to somehow turn into a fish. And then that fish, over a very long period of time, through the process of natural selection and through just mutations, just like these random accidents that somehow made it so that this fish could survive better than its unmutated fish. And then it, kept on mutating and into new species. Of course, the old species still stayed there, but somehow the new species mutated. And then eventually these fish that could only breathe water, somehow they managed to develop lungs that could breathe air. And then, somehow, they managed to get onto land and grow legs and arms and grow brains, big brains. So it's all very miraculous. This process of evolution is just like, wow, this is pretty awesome. How this just all happened over a long period of time through accidental mutations. Anyway, of course, there's like huge number of holes in this ridiculous theory, Charles Darwin's theory of evolution, which they call it a theory, but they treat it as fact. But, it's just like, the complexity in one cell is inconceivable. But it's like just an example of the human eye, which is not one cell, it's like a huge number of different kinds of cells. And it's like if anything is slightly off with any part of the biology of the eye, well then the eye won't work. So there's an analogy that I read like if you got a mouse trap, this is a bit brutal, or a rat trap. There's a flat piece of wood, and there's a thing that you sort of pull back, right? Piece of wire that you pull back, and you hook it under another piece of wire. So that's like a piece of wood, the thing that's goes over, and something that it hooks on, and then there's a little trigger that that you stick the cheese to, and if the rat or mouse eats the cheese, it jiggles the thing, and the trap goes like that, right? And doesn't catch it, it kills the rat or the mouse. So there's total of four parts. And this mouse trap or rat trap, if there's anything wrong with any one of the parts, it doesn't work. It's useless. So similarly, you got an eye which is extremely complex. Extremely complex. I mean, there's a lens and retinas and, irises and within the irises there's color and squiggles and, and there's fluid but these parts, they're not just made up of one or two cells, they're made up of extremely complex combinations of cells. And the eye won't work if anything is not working. And so the theory is that somehow, miraculously, eyes developed through mutations. So anyway, it's kind of a bit of a digression into the stupidity and foolishness of the theory of evolution. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense at all. It's like, it's insane. And, particularly as they're like, oh, well, there's no intelligence behind it. It's just all random accidents. So anyway, I digress. The point I was making was that, the study of history, it's all based on that at some point there was in the universe, and there was a big bang, and of course, who knows what caused the big bang? There was some gases, and where did the gases come from? But anyway, we won't get into that. There's a big bang, and planets and suddenly came into being, and then more planets came into being, and then there's some primordial soup, and only on the Earth planet somehow did this primordial soup give rise to amoebas, and then, as I described, the different evolution of the species, and fish suddenly learning how to walk and fly, and and then monkeys and baboons and apes, and then suddenly man, right? And this all happened, according to the historians, not quite sure how many thousand years ago, but not that many. And then, like maybe 3,000 years ago, they kind of figured out how to get a bit civilized. And, so this is the context of how the study of history is looking at stuff. And so, of course, here Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada is, he's saying that there is no trace in history of his coming into being. And of course, in this stupid philosophy or study of history that I'm discussing here, the belief system behind the study of history is like, well, of course, the history only goes back 3,000 years, and but there's no trace in history. There's no trace in history, right? Like this history study of history is only 3,000 years old. But within the Vedic literatures, there is the history of the universe. In fact, in Srimad Bhagavatam, in Canto 2, Chapter 9, there's the, description of Brahma's appearance. He's described as self-born because he has no mother. So of his appearing on the lotus flower, on the lotus that is coming from the navel of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. So anyway, but within the Bhagavatam and within the Bhagavad Gita, the actual eternal time is described. A day of Brahma, how many years there is, how many yuga cycles there are, how many 71 yugas in a day of Brahma, I think it is. I can't remember all the years, but anyway, millions and millions of years just in a manvantara, or a series of cycles of yugas, and then a certain number of manvantaras in a day of Brahma, and then an equivalent period of time in a night of Brahma, and so the length of the time of the universe is described as being many, many billions of years, but that these universes are emanating from Mahavishnu, Karanadakashayi Vishnu, and he's like lying in a a mystic slumber, and the universes are described as emanating from his pores. As he breathes out universes, and these universes expand, and then as he breathes in, the universes enter back within him. And so but the soul, the eternal living entity, is just that, nitya, ever-existing, sanatana, eternal. So these are words Krishna uses to describe the soul. So as he says in this verse, ajam, aja. So unborn. The soul is unborn, is nitya, eternal, shaswata, permanent, purana, the wholeness, or primeval. So you, the soul, me, the soul, as Krishna says in 2.10, never was there a time when I did not exist. 2.12. Never was there, na tvivaham jatu nasam, na tvam nemi janadibaha, na chaiva na bhavishyamaha, save vaya mata param. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings here, and never in the future shall we ever cease to be. And as Krishna says here, Nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuyaha. Never, Nayam bhutva, never this bhutva, having come into being, bhavita, will come to be, bhuyaha, or is again coming to being. So he has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. Ajo nitya sashvato ayam purano. He is unborn, eternal, ever-existing, and primeval. So I mean, this is just mind-blowing, of course, right? We're so conditioned to material time. So conditioned to material time. Right? Like our life is like everything to us. This 50, 60 years, 70, 80 years, whatever it may be. It's like, wow, there's nothing more important to me than my life, right? My time in this body and my relationships with others, my relationship with my wife, my relationship with my children, my relationship with my parents, my relationship with my grandchildren, my friends. These relationships are like everything to us. We're thinking they're so important. That these people are related to me, that I'm connected with them. That I'm their father or their mother or their husband or their wife. But the reality is that you have no such connection with them. You're not their father or their mother or their brother or their sister or their cousin or whatever it is. This is just a temporary moment, like not even a blip within eternal time. Not even a blip. You are eternal. How many lifetimes have you had? It's described, the Sanskrit word is anadi, beginningless. You can't trace out. It cannot be traced out. Which is, of course, what Bhaktivedanta Swami is saying here. Cannot be traced out in history. But he's not talking about this modern history that I was talking about, or this medieval history, or this ancient history. He's not talking about that history. He's talking about the history period, right? There is no time It cannot be traced out. There is no time when you came into existence. You are eternally existing. You are nitya, eternal, sanatana. Always eternally existing. Krishna says in chapter 15, Mama evamsa jiva loki jiva bhuta sanatanaha. You are amsa, my eternal fragmental parts. Describes that the living being, the jiva bhuta, the embodied living being, is Krishna's eternal embodied separated part, right? It's kashiti, separated, fragmental. So sanatana, eternal. So you are eternal. Don't put so much importance on this, what you're doing in your body and in your life and in your relationships. It's just temporary. So like the purpose of human life is to make a solution to this problem that we have, that we're like an eternal spirit soul, but we're stuck within this temporary material body where we experience misery and unhappiness, and all the disease, old age, and death, and miseries caused by other living beings, miseries caused by my own body and mind, and miseries caused by social and natural forces. So, this is the purpose of life. Make a solution to these problems. Get off this samsara, this wheel of birth and death that you're stuck upon, time immemorial. And what is it that keeps you here? It's your ignorance, your ajnana, and your desires. You actually want to be here. We like to enjoy. We like to be the center of attention. In fact, we love being the center of attention. In fact, I am the center. Right? And you are the center. In everybody's life, who's the center of your life? Well, it's you, or it's me. Right? Who's the most important person? Hey, it's me. Trouble is, the world is full of people who all think that they're the most important person. And this leads to all kinds of quarrel, chaos, and confusion when people just won't do what I want them to do. Damn it. So, anyway, but we're very fortunate. We're most fortunate because somehow or other, through the grace of Krishna, we've come in contact with our spiritual master. In fact, when Lord Chaitanya spoke with Srila Rupa Goswami, he said, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jiva Guru Krishna Prasari Bhai Bhakti Lada Bija. So we've been wandering through the Brahmandas, the universes. So, through somehow or other, through the mercy, the living entity is wandering throughout these universes, the Brahmandas, Brahmite, wandering throughout the universe. And somehow or other, through the grace of Krishna and our spiritual master, we've received the Bhakti Lada Bija, the seed of devotional service. So somehow or other, we don't really know how, but somehow or other, through good fortune, through pious activities, sukriti, somehow or other, and the desire has arisen within us to seek out the answers to life. Krishna sends us the spiritual master, and then the spiritual master gives us the Bhakti Lada Bija, the seed of the creeper of devotion. So Srila Prabhupada is planting within our hearts this Bhakti Lada Bija, this seed of devotion. And then our job is then to be good gardeners. So in this sequence of verses that Lord Chaitanya speaks to Srila Rupa Goswami, he describes how one must take care of this Bhakti Lada Bija, and avoid offences, in particular the mad elephant offence, of being critical or offensive towards the Vaishnavas. So so we should take this opportunity that we're receiving from our spiritual master, from Srila Prabhupada. We should take it very seriously. We should understand the real situation. So Srila Prabhupada is giving us Bhagavad Gita, that we're receiving from Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. It's coming through the disciplic succession and through the various commentators such as Baladev Vijayabhusana, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Sridhara Swami, Keshava Kashmiri, Madhavendra Puri, Madhvaracharya, Ramanuja Acharya, these great commentators on the Bhagavad Gita, and ultimately through Srila Vyasadeva, who wrote it down, and Krishna who spoke it. So we're receiving this incredible knowledge, transcendental knowledge that can actually open our eyes. So in the Ama Gina Timurandisya Gina Gina Shalakaya Chaksurun Militanyena Tajmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, Agyana. Completely born in the darkness of ignorance. Can't see anything, don't know anything, haven't got any clue about who I am. I'm absolutely convinced that I am this body. Absolutely convinced. But somehow or other, our spiritual master has opened my eyes with the torch of transcendental knowledge. Well, sometimes it's described as not being a torch of knowledge, but rather a salve. That if the eyes have some kind of disease, where you can't open your eyes, they kind of stick together. You get all this pussy, crusty stuff, and you can't open your eyes, and so you can't see. And then the spiritual master comes along and applies the salve, like a salve to the eye that cures this, gets rid of all this pussy, gooey stuff and the disease that's causing it, so you can't open your eyes. And then you can, through the grace of the spiritual master, suddenly you can see things as they are. See the reality of existence, of who you are, that you're an eternal spiritual soul, that you're not your body, you're not this temporary material body. It's just a bag, leather bag full of all kinds of disgusting substances. Stool, urine, blood, pus, bones, brains, hair. It's like, it's disgusting. That's not you. That's not who you are. You are eternal spirit soul. You are Aja, unborn, Nitya, ever existing, Sashvato, permanent, Purana, primeval. So anyway, we cannot trace out the history of this soul. You're not this temporary material body where you can trace it out. Oh, I can trace it out. Yeah. I was born at whatever hour on April 4th, 1957. At the Sydney Women's Hospital or whatever it was. It's like, okay, we can trace that out. But no, I cannot trace out. There is no tracing out. It's not possible to trace it out when you came into existence, because you never came into existence. You are eternally existing. Eternally existing. So So Krishna here in Bhagavad Gita, he's trying to make this like super clear to Arjuna, because he's so freaked out about going to kill the bodies of all these people at the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and especially of Bhishma Dev and Dronacharya, his beloved grandfather and his military teacher. He's so freaked out about it, that Krishna's trying to get it through to him. Listen, dude, you cannot kill the spirit soul. It cannot be done. It cannot be done. Get with the program, Arjuna. So you can't use this idea of not wanting to kill as a reason to not kill, because you can't kill them. You're not going to kill anyone anyway. You cannot kill the soul. You can't kill the soul. So what are you talking about? So in the performance of your dharma or your religious duty, you cannot use the fact that I'm going to kill someone as a reason not to do it, because you cannot kill someone. So don't give me that excuse to avoid your religious duty, to avoid following Krishna's desire. So I didn't get past what I'd actually read last time. So anyway, so the soul does not at any time become old as the body does. So we all fear old age. I don't want to become old. And
Are you ready for me?
not yet. Soon. I don't want to become old. Right? I want to become like my father. I can't visit my father right now, of course, because of all the COVID restrictions. Can't even leave the country. But if I did go and see him, it's like, oh my God, it's terrible. Become demented, very frail, his teeth fallen out, can't see very well, can't hear, can't have a conversation. This is old age, jara. But the soul, as Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada says here, does not become old. The body becomes old, but the soul does not become old. The so-called old man, therefore, feels himself to be in the same spirit as in his childhood or youth. It's like Srila Prabhupada in one of his video lectures one time, he kind of gave the analogy that it's like about time, and it's like you got like these two ratchets that are kind of going the opposite way. You got time is passing, but the soul is like not going with it. It's like, hey, what's going on here? I don't feel any different. I still feel like I'm the same person that I was, and yet I'm getting old. What's going on? It's like this mismatch or this contradiction. And this leads to great unhappiness. In fact, you get people, they spend their whole time trying not to look old. They get their like my hair's gone all grey. Well, like people dye their hair, dye it black or blonde or whatever it was. So I look younger. I want to look younger. I want to feel youthful. And they're always looking for the fountain of youth, it's called. It's like there's this, in Greek mythology or whatever, there's the fountain of youth. So, but actually, of course, there is Amrita. This is the drink of the demigods, Amrita, the nectar of immortality. So you can drink this Amrita and remain young, youthful. But actually, so we shouldn't be looking for this Amrita or nectar in the heavenly planets which can keep this body youthful. We should be studying works like Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, the nectar of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. These nectarine, eternal, blissful pastimes of Lord Chaitanya will actually give you true eternity. Through studying the Chaitanya Charamrita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, you will achieve actual youth. You will enter into that dimension where there is no past, present, or future. So anyway, I think that's enough on text 20, and you'll have to read Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada's wonderful purport yourself, and you can meditate on some of the ideas that he has in here. And next week we'll move on to chapter 2, text 21. Okay, namaste. Thank you very much for listening. Hope you don't mind my raves about bushrangers and blue mountains and convicts. And anyway, thank you very much. Tomorrow night we have an experience meditation evening on Yoga Kirtan Hawaii. That's at 7 p.m. Hawaii time, and it's a program of, we teach Kirtan. It's obviously a new person program. We teach Kirtan, Goranga breathing, japa, and I'll be giving a Bhagavad Gita class, or yoga wisdom class, but I'll be speaking on a couple of Bhagavad Gita verses. So anyway, please join us if you would like to, and thank you very much. Hari Bol. Namaste. Krishna Krishna. Probably have to go and get our Kirtaniya. Aisha?
Hello. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Haribol. Thanks for coming, everybody. Hope you had a nice time, and we'll see you next time. I hope.